Good morning. We're in the 6th week of our Easter season, and we continue on with our Easter message called Dream Big, Think Little. We've seen that the most effective way to influence people is to love them. Just love them. Of course, many things come to mind with the introduction of the word love. There's the love of a mother, the love of a father, sibling love, love within an extended family, love as romance, love in marriage, or love of neighbor. Whatever the case, it is true that our greatest opportunity to influence other people is to love them, and only we can do it. If you think about it, organizations and institutions can't love people. Systems and structures can't love people. Businesses and bureaucracies can't love people. People love people. In fact, how often have you seen that organizations or institutions or businesses and bureaucracies actually get in the way of loving people? People love people. Love flows out of personal relationships and can be profoundly impactful to the people in that relationship. All people, everyone really, longs for loving support. The unfortunate truth is that many people, and in fact most people, are desperate for it. We know that love is impactful and influential, and we know that it is needed. But even so, more often than not, life just gets in the way of love. We're so focused on the tasks to be done, or the moment at hand, or all the things on our to-do lists. We're busy, we're preoccupied, and overscheduled that we forget the importance of just loving people. Often we simply don't even think about it. We may think, why should I take on the additional responsibility of a loving, nurturing role for employees or colleagues, friends or classmates, for which I bear no actual responsibility or obligation to do so? I can't love anyway. I can't love everyone, so why even try? I just want to mind my own business. I just want to live my life. I just want to take care of my family. I love my kids. I love my dog. That's enough. All perfectly reasonable statements that all have something in common. They're all about me. To broaden our perspective, let's take a look at a very special passage from the Gospel of John that we just heard. Jesus set a loving example for the disciples throughout his public ministry and in all his preaching and teaching. And it was why so many were committed to follow him. Then on the night before he died, Jesus passed on to his closest friends and followers the secret to his ability to love them. Jesus said to them, "As the Father loves me, so also I love you. Remain in my love." This is the trajectory of love. It begins with God the Father, who is love. It's an eternal exchange. The Son receives and returns the love of the Father. In that loving exchange, creation is formed and God's loving purposes unfold. In that loving exchange, Jesus calls the apostles and establishes the church, which is charged with living in that love, to remain in his love. As the Father loves me, so also I love you. remain in my love. The ability and power for us to love others does not come from willpower or goodwill. It's not the product of our best intentions or even our very best efforts. It doesn't come from us in any way at all. It comes from God, whether we know it or not, whether we believe it or not. The power to love others comes from remaining connected to Jesus. This is the difference between Christianity and other religions and the secular message predominant in our culture. Secular culture and other religions oftentimes say, do good deeds and you will be a good person. Christianity says, remain close to the Lord and he will give you the power and ability for good and great things. You might say, but how? How do we remain in his love? Jesus tells us, if you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and remain in his love. Maybe you're thinking, isn't that just more religious rule keeping? Sounds like you're reducing love to religious rules and commandments that insist that we have to work for, that we have to earn the love of God. But again, when it comes to God, there is no earning anything. Keeping or striving to keep God's commandments position us to efficiently and effectively receive the love of God that is always there. But we don't like hearing that word command. We don't like being told what to do. As we see in this passage from John, it is our very basic and best strategic interest to do so. There are actually 4 reasons to follow his commands, which is another way of referring to the sum total of his teachings. Number 1, Jesus knows what he's talking about. If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments. He speaks from personal experience. Throughout his life, Jesus followed his Father's commands. And because he followed his Father's commands, he remained connected to the effective and powerful force of the Father, which we repeatedly see demonstrated in his miracles. Number 2, Jesus doesn't ask us to do anything he hadn't done. This is my commandment. Love one another as I love you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down his life for one's friends. In laying down his life for us on the cross, giving everything he can give, Jesus provides us with a model to emulate and a path to follow. And as we follow, however imperfectly, we grow in likeness of him. Number 3, his commands are purposeful. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy might be complete. His commands are directed to joy. He wants us to live our lives with joy, not just a taste of joy, but complete joy. In the beginning, when we adopt any good habit or aspire to any new virtue, it's always difficult and challenging, and we can be reluctant to do it. But if the habit is actually good, if the virtue is truly virtuous, over time we'll embrace it and value it and even treasure it. What begins as a discipline can result in something you like and even love to do, something that brings joy into your life. That's the way it is with Jesus' commands. As we follow them, we grow to know their value and worth, even to delight in them. They can bring us joy. And fourth, he doesn't want something from you, he wants something for you. I have called you friends because I have told you everything I have heard from my Father. He wants friendship with us. In your closest friendships and relationships, you know what the other person is thinking and doing. The obligation falls away in friendships and moves to something deeper and much more important. That's the relationship Jesus wants for you and with me. Why? Was not you who chose me, but I who chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit that will remain, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you. This I command, love one another. Jesus chose the apostles as he now chooses you and me to go and bear fruit, fruit that will remain and stand the test of time. His friends bear fruit, and the fruit that brings us back full circle. The fruit is love one another. Our love for one another, Jesus' command, love one another as I love you, is foundational to the entire Christian life. It's foundational, it's fundamental, it's formative, it's the origin, but it's also the fruit and the goal. Everything we have talked about in this series when it comes to influencing people, it's all just expressions of love. Love people by empowering them. Love people by mentoring and coaching them. Love people by investing time and prayer in them. Love people by encouraging them. Dream big, think little. Most all of us can be so careful and so cautious to use the word love at all. Sometimes even embarrassed to do so. It almost seems so presumptuous. It makes us feel so vulnerable. We're reluctant to even say it. Maybe we begin by being open to love by thinking little. And in time, perhaps we grow and we can love more, including more people. Perhaps we should try to say it all the time, because most basically and most fundamentally, love means being for another. Love is being for another. We dream big and eventually we love everyone we can, every chance we can, and every way we can. Because what we will have in the end is the love we have shown and the love we have shared.